Story 1. Peter Kürten, the Vampire of Düsseldorf. In 1929, the city of Düsseldorf glowed with the lights of a new industrial age. People believed they were living in the height of European civilization, a world ruled by logic and progress. But among them walked a polite, well-dressed man who greeted neighbors with a gentle smile. His name was Peter Kürten. No one knew that behind his calm manners hid a predator who drank blood to feel alive. Born into poverty and violence, Kürten grew up in a home filled with abuse and pain. He learned early that pain could bring pleasure, a warped lesson that defined his life. By 1913, he had already begun stealing, attacking, and eventually killing. What set him apart was what came after he drank the blood of his victims. He claimed the moment the blood touched his lips, "I finally felt alive." In 1929, Düsseldorf became a city of fear. Women disappeared, children were found dead, and curfews returned for the first time in decades. The press called him the Vampire of Düsseldorf. But Kürten craved more than murder, he wanted fame. He read newspapers about himself, savoring every headline as if it were applause. He once told his lover, "Every murder is a symphony. I am only the composer, their fear is the music." By day, he was a caring husband. By night, he hunted strangers for the thrill of control. Sometimes he simply followed a woman home, watching her sleep through the window, whispering to himself, "Not tonight." But when the urge returned, he struck and drank her blood as part of his ritual. Police searched for years, tracing hundreds of false leads. Without forensics, they were helpless. Meanwhile, Kürten roamed free, laughing at the chaos he'd created. In 1930, believing he had completed his final symphony, Kürten surrendered to police. During interrogation, he described every killing in chilling detail, calm, articulate, almost proud. When the judge asked if he felt remorse, he smiled and said, "No, I only regret that I can't hear that music again." Peter Kürten was executed by guillotine in 1931. Before the blade fell, he asked the guard, "Do you think my head will still hear the gush of my own blood?" That question became one of history's darkest echoes. The voice of a man who saw murder as art and blood as beauty. Düsseldorf rebuilt itself after the war, but his name endures. Peter Kürten, the gentleman monster who proved that the most terrifying evil often smiles the kindest smile. Story 2. Leonarda Cianciulli, the Witch of Correggio. Correggio, a quiet northern Italian town with cobblestone streets and the sound of church bells in the air. Everyone there knew Leonarda Cianciulli, the kind, smiling woman who owned a small soap shop on Via Cavour. She was gentle, generous, and loved by all the kind of neighbor who'd hand you a bar of handmade soap with a warm smile. But behind the sweet scent of her shop hid one of the darkest secrets in Italian history. Leonarda grew up believing she was cursed before birth. Her mother despised her, calling her a child of shame. Throughout her life, tragedy followed her. 14 of her 17 children died young. Every coffin carved another scar into her faith. By 1939, only one son remained, Giuseppe. When he was drafted into the army, Leonarda broke down completely. She became convinced that only a human sacrifice could protect him. A deeply superstitious woman, she visited fortune tellers and believed in omens and rituals. One voice grew louder inside her mind. A life for a life. Blood for protection. Her first victim was Faustina Setti, a lonely spinster hoping to find love. Leonarda promised to arrange a marriage for her and told her to keep it a secret. On the day of departure, Faustina stopped by to say goodbye and never left. Leonarda later confessed calmly, "I killed her with an axe. I chopped her body, mixed her blood with flour and chocolate, and made biscuits. The rest she boiled in caustic soda to make soap, the same soap she gifted her neighbors. They called it the softest, sweetest soap they'd ever used." Her next victims, Francesca Soavi and Virginia Cacioppo, followed the same pattern. Promises of work or love, a visit to Leonarda's home, and then silence. Virginia's jewelry was found in Leonarda's drawer, sealing her fate. When arrested in 1940, Leonarda confessed everything. She wasn't crying or frightened, she spoke as if explaining a recipe. "I did it for love," she told investigators. "Each life I took was a prayer to keep my son alive." Her calmness was more terrifying than any scream. She saw herself not as a killer, but as a mother making sacrifices to God. Leonarda Cianciulli was sentenced to life in prison. She died in an asylum in 1970, still believing her son had survived because of her offerings. The people of Correggio never forgot the smell of her soap, sweet, warm, strangely pleasant, until they learned what it was made of. Her story remains a haunting reminder that faith without reason can turn love into horror. A mother who prayed with blood instead of words. The woman they called the Witch of Correggio. Story 3. András Pándy, the Pastor of Evil. In the heart of Brussels stood a small church where people came seeking forgiveness and peace. Behind the pulpit was András Pándy, a Hungarian pastor adored for his sermons about love and redemption. He spoke softly, eyes gentle, hands folded in prayer. But behind the church doors, inside his home, fear reigned, and 6 members of his family vanished without a trace. The man who preached salvation was performing his own dark version of it. Born in Hungary in 1927, Pándy fled to Belgium after the war. He built a reputation as a devout man, a loving father, and a respected spiritual leader. In public, he was a man of God. At home, he was a tyrant who ruled with fists and scripture. His wife and children lived in terror. He forced them to pray for hours, confess sins they never committed, and beat them in the name of purification. To Pándy, pain was cleansing and obedience was holiness. In 1986, his first wife disappeared. He told everyone she'd run away with another man. A year later, 2 stepsons vanished, followed by a daughter and his second wife. Each disappearance came with the same story. They left to find God. No one dared question the pastor. The truth surfaced only in the early 1990 seconds when his adopted daughter, Agnes, went to police. She confessed that Pándy had abused her for years and that she had helped him kill. He said their souls needed cleansing, she told investigators. The acid would wash their sins away. Police searched his home and found chemical barrels in the basement. Acid burns on the floor and traces of human DNA belonging to at least 6 people. Pándy had dissolved their bodies in acid and called it spiritual purification. When arrested, he showed no fear, only a calm smile. "The flesh is temporary," he told the court. "I only freed their souls." Some followers still believed he was possessed by demons, but others saw the truth. He wasn't a servant of God. He was a servant of madness wearing a collar. András Pándy was sentenced to life imprisonment in 2002. He died behind bars, still claiming he was chosen by God. The exact number of victims remains unknown. Police confirmed at least 6, but there may have been more. Before being led away, he turned to the press and whispered, "Blood is the path to salvation." Brussels never forgot those words. The city of light and faith would forever carry the shadow of one man, András Pándy. The pastor who baptized in blood. 3 people, 3 different eras, yet the same darkness. Peter Kürten, Leonarda Cianciulli, András Pándy, each driven by a twisted belief, a hunger beyond reason. They didn't kill for revenge, they killed to feel, to exist, to touch that fragile line between human and monster. And perhaps the most terrifying truth, none of them believed they were evil. 3 stories, 3 souls, devoured by darkness at the heart of civilized Europe. They make us wonder, could there be a sleeping part of us that's just like them? If you believe the line between good and evil is as thin as a single breath, tell me in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share to uncover more of the world's darkest files. This is Dark File, where the blackest stories are brought to light.